How much does YouTube pay me for 3,468 subscribers? Spoiler alert, it comes out to about $2 an hour. But I'll give you the breakdown at the end of the video. It's not all about money, is it? Hey, my name's Max. This is me in Austin. I'm a lifelong Oklahoma Sooner fan, so that doesn't go over too well in Austin. I'm like a fish out of water down here. I'm also 7.5 years sober. There's not a lot of sober people in Austin either. It is a notorious party town. Nevertheless, I love this town, and I've met a lot of great people. There's also a lot of great AA meetings down here because it is such a notorious party town. It has a good recovery culture as well. These are my children. That's my daughter, Allie. She graduated from the University of Oklahoma a few years ago. She works in the advertising business in Oklahoma City. Very proud of her. That's my son, Michael. He's in his last year of college at the University of Oklahoma. We have big arguments all the time because I live in Austin and he doesn't like the Longhorns. He thinks I'm too sympathetic to the Longhorns. This is my dad and myself. We were, that was out at his house over Thanksgiving or close to his house. This is Jack's. We're in front of the Google building right there. You guys have heard about Jack's nonstop, of course. This is Jackson's best friend, Aspen, who's a big white boxer. We call Aspen Big Dog because he's huge. Some people think he's part bulldog, but he's all boxer. He's also 10 years old. He just had his 10th birthday. The other day, we saw a robot dog at the park. Big Dog was not impressed.
Get it, Jack.
Jackson was not interested in getting it. I kept trying to tell him to get it, but he didn't have any get it in him that day, or I think the robot dog freaked him out. All right, so let's get on the money. It comes to about $200 a month from YouTube, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you guys, and I really appreciate it. I have a really great group of fans, and we have a totally free Discord. I invite you to join us, but let's check out the numbers. The tell of the tape, as they used to say in the boxing matches. All right, tell of the tape. So, but here's the metrics, the numbers. If you watch my channel, there's a 60% chance that you are between 45 and 64. There's a 16% chance you're over that. So there's a 76% chance that you're over 45. Okay. There's a 95% chance that you are male. We have, 3,468 subscribers. That's what my front page looks like. Okay, so here is the numbers. It's actually a little bit less than 200 a month. It's 2,300 the past, the past 12 months. So it's actually a little bit less, and it's been going down lately. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, but these are some greatest hits from the past. These are my biggest hits. So I saw a Cybertruck in downtown Austin, and I did a YouTube short, and got 6,500 views. That's the most views I've ever got. I interview freaking managers that manage 12 billion and it gets 500 views, but the Cybertruck gets 6,500. But anyway, so that's kind of the way viral stuff goes. But a lot of people liked the latest interview with Jay was a big hit. This was a big hit. ZIVB and SFAL, where have you been all my life? People really like that one. That one video I made $39 off of. Maybe I need to do some. Maybe I need to look at that one again. I mean, those are two good funds. So anyway, I'll look at that. So that's the kind of stuff I do. That's kind of my niche. Let's see what else I have. I like talking about the high yield funds and but more importantly, the strategies that power the high yield funds and how the strategy affects the high yield funds. Some of these funds are a lot, they have totally different qualities than other ones of these funds. When you understand the strategy, it's easy to understand how that happens and what you're actually investing in. This was a big one also. I need to maybe do a new version of this. This was a year ago. And maybe I'll do a new version of that one. I'll look at what I said a year ago and see if it still applies. Probably some of it's wrong. I'm constantly learning on all of these things as well, but that was a decent video. Everyone liked the new YMAX is on the way, and that was, oh yeah, that was a long time ago. That was when we first heard about things like PLTY, which is now out. And Bobo, which is now out. Anyway, a lot of funds, when they filed for that months ago, people like these SEC filings too. So I'll try to do more of what you guys like. That is definitely my goal. We can see here my subscriber count. Or my channel growth is kind of interesting. That's the last 28 days has been kind of flat. But the last 365 days, we've gone from 1,800 to 3,469. I knew it was 69, but I put 68 in the title because I didn't want people to think I was trolling or just trying to, or just trying to be funny or something. But anyway, I changed it by one, but I was actually honest because I took one off the total. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But yeah, the revenue you can see has gone really just in the tank, but that's fine. That is fine. It's more about trying to meet like-minded people on YouTube. And like I said, my niche is a very specific niche, even within the finance category. And I'm fine with kind of having a boutique channel on YouTube. I mean, I'm kind of, for better or worse, my channel is kind of attached to the growth and the future of the covered call business, or more importantly, the high yield ETF business. These high yield ETFs, the ones I talk about especially, they sell covered calls for an income. So covered calls have a dirty little secret. And I was a financial planner years ago, and that's how I know this. But covered calls is what an unscrupulous broker could use back in the old day to try to do what's called churning someone's account. Back when commissions used to cost money, it was like a game, and your broker would try to get you to invest in stuff that you didn't need, or maybe that you did that maybe you needed, but he was more looking to try to run up the commissions. Well, covered call plan, whenever commissions were expensive, was a great plan for a broker because you got a commission every month. Because back in the day, they didn't have weekly options, but you try to get somebody set up on a plan of selling options every month. And that wasn't the worst thing for some people. But as high as commissions were, it didn't work for a lot of people. So nowadays with free commissions, and when you take the commission angle out of it, and then all these funds have popped up where they do the trading for you, it's a whole new world. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the opportunities with these high yield funds. I said that when I first started doing this, it was the best opportunity I've seen in years. Anyway, and I still think it is. I still think it is. But over the years, my channel, I made a couple of videos. I made one called True Yield about 9 months ago. And what I did is I calculated, I took out any effects of NAV depletion or the market drop, whatever you want to call it. I took those effects out of these funds, and I tried to normalize and just strip out the actual income, the true income part. And on Defiance, I said that they would get that their true yield, I called it true yield. I said the true yield, once you took out everything, would be like 8 to 12%. And it was a little bit higher. I think Defiance's first year, one of them was a little higher, but it was pretty much right on the money. Now, some of the YMAX ones I looked at, and I gave them a 15 to 20 on a true yield. just based on that. That was 9 months ago, but that lost a lot of subscribers right there because obviously these aren't free money. And when you look at them on paper, yeah, that's why financial planners don't, will tell you not to do these. I mean, there's good reasons. They aren't just making it up. But that's the thing. There's another side to this. And there's also some cases, these can work really nicely. All right. So the true yield was my first error, but then over Christmas, I made a video where I did a bunch of back tests, and I figured on if you had traded, if you had some of these high yield stocks like NVDY or pick whichever one, you had them during 2022. Now they weren't around, but I looked at the strategy. I put the strategy in a back tester, and yes, it's true that these would do a little bit better than the underline, but those underlines were down so much in 2022. That's not saying all that much to say these do a little bit better than the underline. So that was a real eye opener for me as well. But all that means, it just reinforces what I've always said. There's no such thing as free money. These aren't free money, but they do have a tactical use. I mean, the goal to me of everyone, what I'm trying to get people to do is just to understand what you're investing in. Some people, these are appropriate for. Some people, they aren't. Some people know they aren't really appropriate, but they're kind of taking a risk, rolling the dice, just kind of playing the market. That's a strategy too. I mean, who am I to say what's right to do and what's wrong to do? That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to talk more about the strategies that drive these. And now I'm trying to get more into the liquid alts. So covered calls, they've released so many of them, they can't do that much new. The best new thing I've seen come out in the covered call world lately is GBTY. The fact that they have a covered call fund, but they're also doing a full-time aggressive put hedge on it. That will help if the market drops. Now, it's not going to help with there's other things that make these funds bad investments. There's other things that you need to consider besides the market dropping. So just that hedge is a step in the right direction, but it doesn't make the fund bulletproof. And that's not what I'm trying to say, but it makes the fund really interesting to me. It makes it have more tactical use than, say, maybe like an LFGY would. That's a very similarly structured fund, but just without that hedge. So, but that's the kind of stuff I like to talk about. And lately I've been getting more into the liquid alt category, which are funds that are kind of hedge fund focused, that are a step beyond covered calls. They might use options. SVOL is a good example, or ZVOL. They use some options and some futures. Lots of the liquid alts use a more sophisticated strategy or algorithms or some kind of systematic method. Anyway, they're very interesting also. They aren't free money, but they're very interesting. Okay, so let's just talk about the general best practices, what I always tell everyone on these. And I've been saying this for a year, and so far it's been mostly right. But I've said the most important thing for me, this is what I think of when I'm making a high yield investment, or when I'm selling a covered call in real life. If I have stock and I'm writing a covered call, the first thing I ask myself is, do I need the income? So that's the reason you're selling the covered call and sacrificing part of the upside. So it's the same reason you're buying a high yield fund, because you're synthetically selling going into the covered call business. So I ask myself, do I need income? And if I don't, there's better investments out there. Okay. But anyway, so we can talk about that another day. But if it passes the first test, I say, okay, yes, I'm going to use this income. I have a credit card bill I'm going to pay, and this, and this I'm going to sell this call for $1,000, and I'm going to pay off this credit card bill, and it has like an 80% chance of profit and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's fine. But make sure that you need the income. If you don't need the income, do something else with the money. Keep it in the VOO, or you keep it in a, that it's best just to keep money and not touch it. Everyone knows the more you touch it and the more you mess it up. So if you have long-term money invested, that's great. Keep it that way. But to the extent that these are appropriate and that you need income, how about no more than 20%? And that's just, that's for me. I don't know. Talk to your own financial planner. So if you had an $800,000 worth of, stuff at work in your 401k or something, in theory, according to, for me, you might be able to afford 20% of that in these covered call funds. But there's a lot of other things to consider because they create taxes, they create all kinds of things. There's also estate planning consequences. But so seriously, talk to somebody about these. But they can have a use, but I would say no more than 20%. Just because nothing else, just to try to keep you out of trouble. I mean, there's too many other investments out there. Okay, but no more than 20%. If you really need the income, my current faves are ULTY, YMAX, YMAG, GBTY, LFGY, anything like that. If you're in it for the yield and you're for high risk, just take the ones that are paying the highest risk. I like index-based ones, so all of those were based on multiple stocks. YMAX is probably my favorite one because it's based on the most of them. I bet that's just. But I really like GBTY, LFGY, YMAG, ULTY. I mean, but their strength in numbers is why I said YMAX first. So that's for a high-risk person that needs income. What about a person that doesn't want to take that much risk on? That's fine as well. Well, for you guys, there's KQQQ from Kurv. There's TSPY. There's JEPI from JP Morgan. There's BALI, BALI from, I forget who it's from, SPY. There's lots of good funds also. And if I'm leaving any out, I'm sorry. But these funds aren't forever. You can't just, you can't expect one strategy to work forever and ever. So if we do get into a market like 2022, but you still like these types of investments, you could look at YQQQ, DIPS, FIAT. In other words, you could look at some inverse funds. And I'm particularly interested in YQQQ because it's inverse of the NASDAQ. So if we go into a crypto winter and if we have an AI winter or whatever, and we get into a really bad market, that YQQQ should do the same thing that QQQY is doing now, or QDTE or whatever, because it's doing the same thing in reverse. So if we get in a downtrending market, I'm going to flop over to these other ones. But anyway, so then those will be my favorites. But right now, as long as the market's trending up, if you have extra money and you want to put on some risk, YMAX. If you don't, want to put on risk, TSPY, KQQQ, JEPI, SPY. If you want to put on less risk. All right. And if you want some kind of an all-in-one package, you could get XVOL from Accruance Capital. It's a fund that is invested long in growth stocks, and they try to replicate the returns of the SPY, and they own the actual shares. But at the same time, they have a hedge, a really aggressive hedge on that should do well if the market craters. They were one of the only funds that was the only bullish funds that was up on August 5th or 6th when the market cratered. They were actually up because of their aggressive hedge. So I really like XVOL for an all-in-one type, if you don't want to have multiple tickers. But then if you do like multiple tickers, you might want to check out CPSY. This is a good one too. Or it may fit your investment needs, it may not. But these are the structured protection. These use options and they sell options. They don't sell options for an income. They sell options and they get an income, but they use the income to structure protection below them. So you can invest in the market with essentially no risk. This is more like an insurance product or an annuity. So the latest one that came out, they release a new one every month. This one's called CPSY. And the downside of the structured protection is you don't get any income. So these are better for maybe somebody that's still working, doesn't need an income, but somebody that's scared about somebody that's like, hell, the market's been up a lot the past 10 years. My 401k is doing great. Or whatever. My investments are doing great. I do not want to have have an AI bear market come and then it messes up my retirement, right? This is a solution, and it uses options too. This is definitely an example of a liquid alternative. They even call it a structured alt. It's all about the alts. There's a big alternative conference in Miami right now. CNBC's been there, and I'm going to have a lot of content. There'll probably be some panels and stuff that I'll be able to comment on, and I'll make some content. Hopefully we'll get some big announcements because companies will be bringing and rolling out their big alternative strategies. So as soon as I hear about them, and I expect to be hearing about them anytime now, I'll let you guys hear about them. But that's the kind of channel I'm looking to have, or I'm trying to cultivate. It's not a free money channel. There's something for everybody. If you want a lot of risk and stuff, there's YMAX. If you don't want a lot of risk, there's TSPY, but you still need a little bit of yield. Or there's KQQQ or whatever. If you want no risk, there's CPSY, which is this one. Calamos, not to get too off topic, but this is amazing. One more thing. Here's what you're giving up. These things have a cap. So the only problem is you don't get any downside, but your initial cap, if you bought this on the day it came out, the most you could make was 7.44%. Okay, now the market's actually up a little bit, and there's from January 1st, and there's only 6.67% of that left. But if you hold it 355 days, you can't lose money. It doesn't matter how much the market drops. You've got all the downside locked out. These are amazing products. But like I say, that's the payoff is you've also got a lot of the upside locked out because your initial cap was only 7.5%. Meaning it doesn't matter if the market's up 50%, this fund's going to be up 7.5%. But you just know it's not going to be down 50 it's going to be zero if the market's down any amount. So it's good to, it's a great time to be an investor. Like I say, either a high risk investor in some of these high risk funds like ULTY and YMAX and whatever, or a low risk investor in stuff like this. But it's important to understand your options, right? All right, guys. Well, I think that's enough for one day. I hope you have a good day. And I'll put a link to my Discord in case you guys want to join the Discord. We're really friendly in there. We don't have any arguments. It's like we have good manners. Anyway, the guys in there are awesome. And come join us. All right, guys. Have a good day.